Devlog number 8. It should be at least a little bit more organized this week. So yeah, over the last week, I did some work mostly on information completeness. I added this mechanics button here, which shows the speed formula, and which, right, for this scenario isn't anything interesting. It's just one, and all of the elements that are in the scenario. So before I couldn't actually look at the formulas for these things, but now they are visible. I'm more and more just seeing that like this short format for the formula is like super unreadable, especially for stuff like this. I mean, what is this nonsense? Right now this would be the only time you would see a stat identifier in the game. This is using the human readable name here. Yeah, so target fire resistance. Anyway, so the speed formula is just one formula that exists for the whole scenario that determines what the each champion's speed is. So, you know, just you have to stick it somewhere. I stuck it in the mechanics button, and alongside that, all of the elementals with all of the elements with the elemental damage adjustment formulas in here. This is not the most readable thing, even in like this format, but I think I might just make this long format the default and maybe discard this. Or work on making it more readable. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah. Over here in the showcase scenario, so the physical element is the only element that exists here. And yeah, if you are taking damage, then dampen it by defense to a maximum of 0. If you are receiving healing, then don't do anything. Result will be greater than or equal to 0. Anyway, so that was just a place to put those. Additionally, champions now in their stats list show their resources. Something I don't like about this is it means this heart icon shows up twice. A solution to that would be to give the vitality stat a different icon than the health resource, which is probably what I'll end up doing. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Right, okay, so you can inspect the resource. So here's its icon, here's its name, here is its capacity, so that'll be its default value is just the vitality stat for this actor. And does not change. The health doesn't, at least. It is a vital resource, so if it drops to 0, you die. Defaults to full and can be spent below 0. So we went over all those when we were putting together the scenario file. Energy capacity is fixed 5. It is always exactly 5. Increases by 1 per turn. Is a non-vital resource, so it can drop to 0 without you dying. Defaults to full and can be spent to 0 but not beyond. So that exactly mirrors the thing we were doing over in here with resources. Yeah, so yeah, the name, icon, default state, vital, spend mode, change formula, capacity formula, all of that stuff is in here. It doesn't show you the color, but you know, you can see that elsewhere. It doesn't show you the sounds and visuals, but you can see those elsewhere. Those are not, this is not gameplay information, this is just presentation. So all of the important gameplay information for champion resources can now be inspected. And speed formula can too. Starting inventory you just see when you start the scenario. Lore is visible. Visual effects are not gameplay. Statuses are pretty much all visible. So I think this is good. This is a step in the right direction. I have some work to do on aesthetics and things. Another thing I was thinking about was that I probably want to have a thing where, like, you could point at here. Let's look at... Whoa, shoot, that was the quit button. That's the hazard of having that there. I think I'm going to move this somewhere else because, like, if you hear and you click the back button and you click a little too enthusiastically, you're just going to click right through to quit and quit. I should put this somewhere else. Like, maybe move this text, get rid of it, put it in the center. Anyway, things I discover while doing these videos. These are as useful for me as anything. Where was I? I'm in the test scenario, or the showcase. I'm going to be in this test scenario. Why? What was I doing here? I had a plan. Something to do with stats. Health, right, yeah. So heart icon. Warrior does not have any... Okay, yeah, so a couple of things I don't like. This just shows up in the list as if it's a stat. Yeah, at a glance, you can't tell that this is a resource and this is a stat. You know, since I can point at this, I know it's a resource, but maybe stats should pop up like a list that says resources, stats, properties, and then another submenu takes you to a list of each of those. I don't know. I'll think about it. Anyway, yeah, so that's just the health max, just like vitality, works the same. Mage has both health and energy, so heart star. Actor energy max, okay, yeah, nothing interesting about that. And you have an energy max of 0, even though... Anyway, the information is a little bit more complete. Right, so I was saying, a thing I might want to do is to be able to point at each row of stat here in addition to the resources. So just the one resource up here. Resource, stat, yeah, these are all stats. And then properties. You can point at them to see... Actually, no, you can't, can you? No, that's an ability, right. Wait, this doesn't show properties here? Did I take the test property off of the sword? I thought I left that. What did I do? Why would I do this? Where's my... Oops, what did I just do? Double clicking here makes a new file. I learned something about my text editor. Test property. What happened? Did I break something? Oh, I totally broke something and I know exactly what. Check it out. Yeah, so before I had that test property on here, I knew something seemed like it was missing. Okay, we're going to do a bit of debugging here. So you can't see the attack ability right now. If I equip the sword, now you can, but you can't see the test property. Okay, so in the process of adding these resources, I had to change how... where are you? You, here. Change how the list view for... Yeah, okay, so let me show you some of my super messy UI code. It's not that messy. It's fine. Champion detail view. Yeah, so I'm not going to give a very detailed description of how this works, but if you want to pause the video and read my UI code, you can. Your line count is wrong. Get row count. Static line count plus stat count plus ability count plus active property count. You are missing that. I think that's all it needed. Because, yeah, that list has a bunch of stuff in it. So it has the static line, which is the name and icon. It has 1 line per resource, plus 1 line per stat, plus 1 line per ability, plus 1 line per property. And since this was just returning a value that's too low, yeah, I'm thinking about going over how my UI code works, but you know what? I don't want to. Don't worry about it. Something calls champion detail view get row count, and that determines how many rows display there. Something later for each one of those calls champion detail view describe row, which copies icons and strings and text positions and things to out parameters so that it knows how to draw that particular row at that index. So, you know, for row index 0, which is the name and icon, it draws it centered, sets the icon name to the champion's icon, and sets the string to the champion's human readable name. For other rows, you know, if this is a resource row, it looks up the resource record for that identifier. No, not for that identifier, for that index. Anyway, and sets things appropriately. So it's way more complicated and less interesting than anything I want to talk about right now. Oops, Foresight Fight. Did that fix my thing? There we go. So I have attack now. I'm surprised I didn't catch this before, because yeah, so the resources are interactive, the abilities are interactive, the stats are not, and I think the properties are not. There we go. Yeah, so now you have a test property. Yeah, I can't point at that. If I click it, this just goes away. Gonna need to do something to indicate, like, right now I can't tell which of these rows are clickable. Some of them pop up another thing, Some of them are non-interactive, and if you click anywhere else, it closes this. If you click a non-interactive row, it closes this. Right, so this would be row 0 with the warrior and the icon centered. Resource rows, stat rows, ability rows, property rows. Anyway, yeah, so I need to just like overhaul this UI. I don't like that it's kind of this awkward hybrid between something that's designed for a keyboard or gamepad and something that's designed for a mouse or touch screen. Those just need to be like 2 different modes or something. I want the primary way that people interact with this to be with a gamepad, ideally. Or keyboard, failing that. You know, playing this with a mouse. I'm doing it right now, but it's not the comfortable way to do it. I don't want it to be, you know, I don't want to encourage that. I'll let it be possible if somebody really wants to, but this should be played with a gamepad, ideally. Anyway, so I fixed the bug so that the row count is not off. So now if you have this... Right, you can inspect the attack. Anyway, so that's what I've done. So back to... Yeah, I looked at this. Back to the showcase scenario. Okay, so let's build this out a little bit more. So I have this just barely could maybe count as gameplay sort of thing here. I have not yet... A thing that is still in progress right now is adding targeting for actions. This is another thing that really needs to be overhauled. I don't like anything about this UI here. Right now, as a stopgap, I'm just going to collapse like every parameter that would go down here, which would be target type, target spread, and target position would be on the battlefield. I'm going to make this one thing that pops open a selector for all of those things at once, so that the collapsed action grid can just like have action icon and probably a target champion icon. So, you know, you'd see the shield here, because that would be targeting this, maybe with like a little number on it. I don't know how often you'll land in a situation in a real scenario where you are the same type of champion as the one you're fighting. I have a thing in here that's kind of like only partially implemented. This is another thing I need to clean up. So, you know, if warrior goes up against 2 imps, I identify them as imp 1 and imp 2, but I don't identify them that way here. Oh, that's a problem. This should say 1 and 2, so you know which is which. Yeah, and I guess I would use that same numbering system for if player champions and enemy champions were of the same type. Because, yeah, I mean, that's not super unlikely you'd land in that situation. Anyway, yeah, so, like, have the champion icon, which should be unique per champion, ideally. It doesn't have to be, but it should be, ideally. You know, I'd put that in, like, style guide for scenario builders. This should move to the right. That's in a bad place. Not going to change it right now. Right, so you'd see attack, shield icon with like a 1 beside it, because I am protector number 1. Then over here, you know, you'd have attack and be able to pop open a thing, shield icon number 2, because you're attacking protector number 2. Anyway, so that's kind of what I'm thinking here. So let's implement some more stuff. Over here in showcase scenario. Protector needs another ability, I think, but it would be more interesting if I added another champion first. So I'm going to do that. That's red because it wants a comma there. Done. All right, so you are Archer, I think. Is that what I decided I would call it? Yes, Archer. So Archer is a damage dealer. I don't have a bow and arrow icon. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cheat because I don't want to draw an icon right now. I'm going to take that range icon, which is not here, but it's just called icon range, and stick it in for that. That would be this one here. So that's the range icon. So that's going to be for you. At some point I'll draw an icon, but not now. All right, so Archer should be a lot squishier than the Protector. Not like hugely squishier. Let's say 7. What are my stats? 3, 7, 1, 1. What are the ones? I think that's attack and defense or something? Stats, where are you? Vitality, attack, defense. Right, okay. So Archer gets attack 2, let's say, and defense 0 maybe? That sounds about right. Okay. Didn't plan this out exactly, but that is okay. So you have the shoot command. No equipment, you don't have to equip a bow or anything. Archer just has one of their own. No items, no spells. Those are not involved in this scenario. Has health, has energy. Everybody does here. So I need a shoot ability. That's the only thing I referenced there that doesn't currently exist. You can just have... oh boy. Anything else I can cheat here? Yeah, check it out. I'm going to do something terrible. There we go. Just to have a unique icon, you'll be icon target. Icon target, by the way, is, I believe, this one. So shows you the valid targets for that ability. All right, that'll work. And you know, it's semi-appropriate. You can just sound like a sword swing, or like nothing. Sure, you have a silent bow. We'll talk about visual effects someday, not today. Shoot costs how much energy? Let's say 2, that sounds fairly reasonable. Maybe 1, actually, yeah, let's make this 1. So it's essentially free because you regenerate 1 energy per turn. Valid targets are self-friend enemy single, that sounds right. Range is 3. So if you are all the way in the back, I should just leave this running because I keep wanting to reference it. If you're all the way in the back, then range 0 can hit this row, range 1 can hit this one, range 2 can hit here, range 3 can hit here. Or if you're all the way in front, range 1, 2, 3 can hit somebody all the way in the back. Or if you're in the middle, you know, like this might have Protector, Archer, Healer. You might have Protector, Archer, Healer. So your Archer then could hit the other Archer but couldn't hit the Healer all the way back here unless you put them up front, make them more vulnerable, but make it possible to hit somebody all the way in the back, for example. So that's kind of the direction I'm going with this this encounter setup. Don't know how it's going to feel when I have it all set up, but that's where I'm going with it. Right, okay, so this is a change resource spell. Everything is a spell, by the way. Abilities are spells, spells are spells, items are spells. I have this thing in shared definitions. All of those things have a spell effect, as I call it. So a spell effect has a type, which is the things we've been doing here. Change resource, apply status, remove status, or compound. That's surprisingly few things. And like 2 of them are, have to do with kind of the same thing. Okay, well that's just what spells do. Spell attributes determines, right, so if you are a change resource type, right, that's a union, then you have the change resource struct inside you, which has a resource identifier, element identifier, and amount formula. Apply status has all your status parameters. Remove status has less stuff, removes a certain number of this status identifier, and compound recurses to another list of spell effects. So, you know, if you want to change multiple resources at a time, you would make a compound spell effect, which would have 2 change resource entries inside the compound list here, each of which would affect a different resource identifier. Anyway, so this is a change resource. Oh, by the way, another change I made. I was talking about how there were compile time constants here, just listed as like, whoops, whoa, what did I do? Something popped up. I don't know what did I press Control Space? I don't know what that was. Anyway, I had stuff that looked like that in there. I changed all of those so that they're all in this format. So there are symbolic constants for things like this everywhere in the scenario file now. Doesn't matter super much because, like, at the point when I implement a scenario editor, I don't expect anybody to edit the JSON file here. In fact, I expect to ship these as binary files, so they won't even have the JSON representation here. They'll have the same structure, but just in a different format. And in the binary format, stuff like this won't even show up. Stuff like this, actually that won't show up either, just because of the way I'm encoding it. So this is just for right now, just because the inconsistency bothered me. And the other thing I did, also about change resource, I did merge increase resource and decrease resource, or whatever they were called, reduce resource, I guess it was, into change resource. So that just takes a positive or negative number as an output from the amount formula to change the target resource. So yeah, all stuff that I talked about last time. I did it because it was bothering me. So anyway, this changes the health resource with a physical element by... Interesting. So the protector's attack did 2 damage. This should definitely do more. This should do like 5? Maybe? Let's say 4. This should be a pretty strong attack. Like this is your strongest attack you're going to get with this set of champions that I'm setting up here. 4 sounds decent. Let's see. So that's going to be 4 hits to take down a protector, 3 hits to take down something with no defense. Let's make it 5. So 3 hits for a protector, 2 for anything with no defense. Okay, so that is the shoot command. Target sound hit. That's fine, probably? I guess? What does it look like again if I do this? Here, just go there. So it plays that sound, doesn't have a visual effect. Plays that sound, doesn't have a visual effect other than the built-in one that pops up the number. Okay, that's fine, sure. So same hit sounds. Okay, so hit is your sound. In addition to shoot, this archer's going to get a second ability, which is called volley. So this is going to be a multi-shoot. It will use, hold on, something's wrong with the, no, the formula's right here, it's fine. Another suggestion came in that totally makes sense to make the resource cost a formula, which I definitely will do. I haven't done it yet though. Right, yeah, so shoot right now just costs 1 energy. Volley costs 5, so you have to have a full energy bar to be able to do that. So like you could, if you're starting with full energy, you could open with a volley and then shoot every turn after that and never run out of energy, but you'd also never get enough back for another volley without somehow like getting energy from an external source, which is not something that I've implemented here yet. So this is self, friend, enemy, single, no, not single. Okay, now... Valid targets. How are these specified? I always confuse myself with this. I kind of have like 2 things mixed together in there. Oh, hey, look, I shouldn't have closed that because I ended up wanting to look at it again. So the attack ability has like this set of icons and also this set of icons. So I have it mixed together like target type and target spread. Oh boy, I closed it. I'll bet I'm going to want to reference that again before I recompile. Anyway, so the target type, yeah, target type that, target spread this, but valid targets is a bit field with those bits. Yeah, it just has them all packed into the same byte. Okay, I guess it's fine for now. So target self, friend, enemy, both sides. I guess you could do a volley on both sides if you really wanted to. Is that what I called that constant? See, now I've made a little bit more work for myself having to look this up. Both sides, target type both sides, yes. And then the target spread, wait, hang on. This is reading the enumeration for that. This is not the bit field. Here we go, this is the bit field. Valid targets, self, friend, enemy, both sides. Single, all in row, all rows, all. This cannot actually target single. So let's just say, hey, I can copy these directly. Isn't that nice? Instead of single, you can target those. So you're not allowed to single target with a volley. If it just happens to land on just one, then, and it'll just hit that one. But you have to multi-target with that pretty much. So change resource, health, subtract, let's say 3 each. That seems fairly reasonable. So, expensive ability. If you're hitting 2 targets and neither of them has defense, then that's already worth more total damage than the shoot. Let's make it 4. I don't know. I can rebalance these numbers once this turns into like an actual puzzle, and I can see like what the numbers need to be for it to be interesting. But just kind of feeling it here, this should be a strong single attack. This should be a slightly weaker multi-attack that's very expensive to do. But, should be worth the expense in some way. Target sound hit, that's fine. Visual effect, whatever. Okay, so you have those 2 abilities. And that's all I need to do with that. However, I don't have access to an archer right now. So let me go ahead and put one into... Oh, hey, what did I set this encounter's... Party size max is only 1. That won't do. Did I ever talk about this? So party size max... I think I just skipped... Oh, hey, look, I did need to relaunch it. Happens every time. So encounter 1 here in test scenario has a party size max of 1. I can bring a warrior or a mage. 0 more can join. There's no room for anybody else. 1 more can join. But I can't bring both at once. Every other encounter here has a capacity of at least 2, so I can bring both at a time. This perhaps will be replaced entirely with, battlefield allocation, or maybe not. Maybe I'll have, a larger battlefield like this over here, but restrict the number of champions you can bring to that. I don't know how I could, justify that, though, just logically. So maybe it'd make more sense to just let you allocate as many champions as spaces you have and champions you have in your inventory. That's probably what I'll end up doing. But right now I have this vestigial value here. Let's just set this to 5, sure. If I somehow give you 5 champions, you can bring all of them. So right, enemy has just the 1 protector. Let's give you an archer. So I'm going to give the enemy an archer. Row is going to be 1. Position is 1. Actions are use ability at index 0, which is shoot. On sure, just the first thingy. You're not going to be super smart with your resources. That's just what you're going to do. Resource values. Can I just do this? If I don't specify, I don't think it'll give me... Oh, hey, look. I actually want to recompile now. Well, not yet. I think if I don't specify anything here, it'll just give me the defaults. Where is test scenario? There it is. Here, go away. What am I looking for? Resource values. Yeah, if you don't specify, you just get the defaults. Okay. Could have looked that up in scenario data IO, but it's kind of complicated. Would have taken longer than just seeing here. Anyway, so you're going to get an archer who's just going to shoot my protector in front, because that's who I'm probably putting in front. I should also start with an archer in my inventory. You need quotes. There you go. Okay, so let's see how this feels. If I could type, it would help. You don't need to recompile anything, just copy your resources over. Why does this take so long? Someday I'll figure out why this takes forever to spin itself up. But I don't know yet. The sooner I do it, the more wasted time I can save on this. Dude. I know Windows has like a less efficient file system than the operating system I'm used to working on this game on. Maybe it's just like I'm doing a bunch of little file I/O operations here. Right, you did have to repack the textures because I added the range and target icons to this, because the archer needed some. All right. So what have I done? It parses. That's good. So yeah, you now have an archer with the range icon. Doesn't look too great on that background. Just has the 2 white pixels here. Let me make this a little more visible. I'm going to change my full screen mode to be non-captured full screen so that it doesn't do that OBS delay thing. But I haven't done it yet. Again, there's no time for anything. I'm trying. So here's a protector. Here's an archer. I want you there and you there. Do I, though? Maybe I don't. See, now the problem is I haven't implemented the ability to set my target, so the only thing I actually can do here is to target the first thing. That's partially true. Right, I have no equipment. So your action is going to be, you only have one thing you can do, so just do that forever. Your action is going to be, oh, right, I give those the same icon. Okay, that's fine for now, I guess. So volley, enemy, all spaces. And shoot, enemy, single, loop index here. So you'll volley once, then shoot forever. This one's just going to shoot forever, right? Yeah, shoot, enemy. Ooh, you don't have a tooltip. Where's your tooltip? Incomplete. Well, I'm redoing this whole thing, so who cares? Let's see what happens here. I'm starting you with a full set of resources. So Protector 1's turn. Yeah, I need to change that. Spend 2 energy to attack. Archer has these targets, is casting volley, well, using the volley ability, using all of his energy. Used volley on Protector Archer. Protector lost 3 health. Archer lost 4 health. Great. And I think the fact that I did that volley up front should let me win this fight. Actually, if I just shot forever, I think I would win it anyway. So you're going to attack me. You're going to spend 1 energy to shoot this protector. Taking some damage. Yeah, my protector has taken more than their protector because it took an arrow and a other protector hit. Energy's going up and down. You're going to run out at some point, but so are you. This is fascinating to watch. So right, energy went up by 1. You spent the 1 energy to shoot. This guy's almost down. So you're going to attack me, sure. I'm going to lose my protector here because shoot does 5 damage, doesn't it? Yeah, okay, so my protector's gone. I lose 1 row of ground. You move forward, you're going to shoot that protector and kill it. I think I'm going to win this just barely. Okay. You're defeated, you lose 1 row of ground. Now it's Archer versus Archer, up in the front row. You'll shoot me first for 5. But then I'll shoot you for 5 and I just barely win. Okay. So that's the situation that I've set up. Boy, that was fun. All right, yeah. So I'm going to also add a healer champion to the mix and see how that could change things. And I'll have a lot more ability to... Right, yeah, that's done. Can't step forward anymore. Have a lot more ability to control things that are going on when I can actually choose a target. Like, have this archer up here and able to target that or this. Stuff like that. All right, cool. Well, hey, this was a lot of fun. This is slowly taking shape. See you next time to add a healer and see how that changes things.